jump right into this deep dive and talk about what happened in European football this week.
Sounds good.
It's Thursday, April 10th, and wow, there have been some really interesting Champions League and other European competition matches already.
Yeah, a lot to unpack for sure.
I mean, especially those quarterfinal first leg matches.
Right.
I think we saw some results that could really point to who will end up in the semifinals.
Absolutely.
For example, Barcelona just completely dominated Borussia Dortmund 4-0, and PSG had a pretty solid win against Aston Villa 3-1.
Yeah, pretty convincing wins for both of them for sure.
Yeah, it really seems like those two are the teams to beat this year.
It's shaping up that way for sure.
Yeah. So what were your initial thoughts on those games?
Well, that Barcelona victory was definitely a statement.
Yeah.
I mean, 4-0, that's not even close. And their attack looked so sharp. I mean, especially that Lamine Yamal.
Oh, yeah, he's incredible.
2 assists and a goal. I mean, come on.
Yeah, he seemed to be involved in every scoring play.
Exactly. And then, of course, you have Lewandowski doing what he does best, scoring goals.
2 more for him.
2 more for him. And even Rafinha and Fermin Lopez look really good.
Yeah, everyone just seemed to be clicking.
Right. It was like they were all on the same wavelength.
I mean, it was beautiful to watch.
And we can't forget about their defense.
Right.
A clean sheet.
Which is a big deal for Barcelona this season.
It is, but I did hear that Dortmund had a few chances.
They did have a few openings, yeah, but Barcelona's defense was good enough when it mattered.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, it was just a bad night for Dortmund, especially compared to how well they did last year in the Champions League.
Right. They were such a force last year, and now...
I was listening to some commentary, and they were basically saying that the second leg is meaningless at this point.
Wow.
I mean, what happened to Dortmund?
I know, right?
You look at their squad this year, and the striker Gadassi isn't at the same level as Füllkrug was last season.
And their midfield just got completely overrun by Barcelona. They were missing that spark they had last year with players like Bellingham and Sancho.
Yeah. I think it just shows how important those big-name players are.
Absolutely. They can make all the difference in a match like that.
So Barcelona's attack looks amazing, but I'm still not sold on their defense against the top teams.
That's the big question mark, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they kept Dortmund quiet, but can they do the same against a team like PSG?
I mean, there's a feeling that Barcelona is still all about outscoring their opponents.
Yeah, it feels like they have this shootout mentality.
Exactly. Their defense is definitely something to keep an eye on as they go deeper in the tournament.
Okay, let's move on to PSG and their 3-1 victory over Aston Villa.
Sounds good.
I have to say, I was surprised that Villa actually took the lead in that game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were.
What did you think of their performance overall?
I mean, they deserve credit for their defense for most of the match.
Yeah, they made things difficult for PSG for a while.
Right. They were organized and disciplined, but in the end, PSG's individual brilliance was just too much.
Yeah, those goals were unbelievable.
I mean, Desirdu, that long-range strike was incredible.
That was world-class.
And then Kvaratskhelia just weaving through defenders like they weren't even there and finishing with such composure. I mean, that goal was pure art.
I know, right?
And then to top it off, Mendes scores late in the game to just kill off any hope for Villa.
Yeah, that third goal was a dagger.
It really was.
I mean, PSG just has so much firepower, it's scary.
Yeah, they are definitely a force to be reckoned with.
So for Aston Villa, going into the second leg, down 3-1 against a team like PSG.
It's a tall order for sure.
Yeah, it feels almost impossible for them to come back from that.
It would take a miracle,
Yeah.
really. I mean, they would have to score at least 3 goals and keep PSG from scoring at all.
Yeah, the odds are definitely not in their favor.
It's a shame because they played well for a lot of that match, but those moments of brilliance from PSG just changed everything.
It's interesting that both Barcelona and PSG have these amazing attacking players who can just create something out of nothing.
Yeah, they're both so much fun to watch.
I mean, you can't help but think about a potential dream final between those two.
Right. That's the matchup everyone wants to see.
Yeah, it would be incredible.
And speaking of dream matchups, let's talk about that potential semifinal between Arsenal and PSG.
Oh, yeah, that would be huge.
I was listening to some commentary, and Trevor Batson was talking about what Arsenal would need to do to beat PSG.
Yeah, what did he say?
Well, he was saying that they would need to play with the same heart and determination they showed against Real Madrid.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, Ty.
He was saying that Arsenal would need to be tactically disciplined and solid defensively, and maybe even find another level in their attack.
So basically, they would need to play a perfect game.
Pretty much. But even then, there's no guarantee they would win.
Right.
I mean, some people think that PSG is just too strong overall and that their defense is better.
But some people think Barcelona would be the tougher opponent in the final.
Right, because their attack is so explosive.
Yeah, and they've looked pretty good defensively, too, especially against Real Madrid.
I saw a poll that asked who would win in a final between Barcelona and PSG,
Oh, really?
and the results were overwhelmingly in favor of Barcelona.
Wow.
Yeah, seems like people are really high on Barcelona right now.
I can't blame them. They're playing some beautiful football.
But let's not forget that Barcelona still has to get past either Inter Milan or Bayern Munich in the semifinals.
Right, that's a big hurdle.
And like we were talking about earlier, I just don't see Aston Villa being able to overturn that deficit against PSG.
Yeah, I think we can pretty much write them off at this point.
Probably, but hey, stranger things have happened in football.
It's true. You never know.
All right, so moving on to some of the other European competitions, the Serie A Daily podcast was talking about Lazio's upcoming schedule.
Oh, yeah. What's going on with them?
Well, they have this really strange Europa League tie
Yep.
against Bodo Glimt in Norway.
Oh, wow. Where is that?
It's way up north in the Arctic Circle.
Wow, that's got to be freezing.
Yeah, they were saying that there could even be snow on the pitch.
Oh, man, that's rough.
And on top of that, the away leg is sandwiched between other European matches and the Rome derby against Roma.
That sounds like a nightmare schedule.
It really does. I mean, it's tough physically and emotionally.
I bet.
It sounds like the Lazio fans and even the manager are prioritizing European success over the derby.
Really?
Yeah, they were saying that the manager might rotate his squad heavily for that away leg against Bodo Glimt, maybe even as many as 7 changes.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, they were also talking about how the synthetic pitch in Bodo could affect the game.
Oh, right. How so?
Well, it plays differently than natural grass. The ball bounces differently, and players have to adjust their movement.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It definitely adds another layer of complexity to the match.
For sure.
Fiorentina also have a European match coming up. They're traveling to Slovenia to face Celje.
How are they looking?
Well, apparently it's a sold-out stadium, and a lot of Fiorentina fans are making the trip. Yeah, even though they're expected to rotate their squad after those big wins against Juventus, Atalanta, and Milan.
Makes sense they need to keep their players fresh.
Right, but it's interesting that no one seems to know much about the Celje team.
Really?
Yeah, they're currently 4th in the Slovenian league, and they beat Lugano in the previous round, but that's about all the information I could find.
Huh. Well, good luck to Fiorentina, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see how they do.
So looking ahead, who are some potential future opponents for Lazio and Fiorentina?
Well, Lazio could end up facing Frankfurt, who are playing Tottenham, and Fiorentina could potentially play Betis, who are up against Jagiellonia.
Wow, lots of possibilities.
Yeah, it's still anyone's game at this point.
I also heard that Italy's chances of securing a second spot in the European ranking are fading.
Yeah, it's not looking good for them.
And it's mainly because of Barcelona's success in the Champions League, right?
Right. Spain gets more coefficient points when their teams do well in Europe.
So basically, Barcelona is hurting Italy's chances.
Kind of, yeah.
Oh, and going back to the PSG Aston Villa game for a second, apparently Prince William and his son George were there.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, it was all over social media.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's always fun when royalty shows up to these big matches.
Yeah, definitely adds some extra excitement.
But at the end of the day, it's all about the football.
Right.
All right, so let's recap what we talked about today.
Sounds good.
We saw some really impressive performances in the Champions League quarterfinal first legs.
Yeah, Barcelona and PSG both looked dominant.
And now everyone's looking forward to that potential semi-final clash between Arsenal and PSG.
And of course, the dream final everyone's hoping for, Barcelona versus PSG.
Exactly. These first leg results have given us a lot to think about, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Me neither. So here's a question for you all to think about. Given what we've seen from Barcelona and PSG, their different styles and strengths, who do you think has the edge in a potential final?
It's a tough one.
I know, right?
Yep.
Barcelona with their incredible attack and PSG with their more balanced approach and strong defense.
What do you think is the key factor that would decide the match?
It's hard to say, but I think it would come down to which team can impose their style of play on the other.
That's a good point.
These first leg results have been really fascinating, and I have a feeling we're in for a lot more surprises as the European football season continues.
I agree, this is just the beginning.
So buckle up, everyone. It's going to be a wild ride.
Let's go.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.